Good morning again, everyone, and welcome back to the KSR YouTube channel. Same intro, but different project than the last couple of videos. Today, some big updates on the Chevy 2. So there's been a whole bunch of work that we've gotten done on it. Travis has done a whole ton of wiring, which it looks a little messy in there right now, but it's because things are in progress. But all of the battery is mounted, kind of a unique spot for the battery location. Yeah, it looks like it's low, but it's not as low as oil pan and some other things. But got our boost control solenoids mounted and wired. O2 sensor harness shortened up because the exhaust is going to be coming out through here. But we're actually getting ready to bolt the turbo manifolds onto this thing, and later, probably tomorrow, this thing's going to crank up. Hopefully this thing's going to crank up. But we've got some more work to do on it. We need to mount the blow-off valve, get the turbos mounted back on the thing, make the charge pipes up to the throttle body. Lots of work to get done. Oh, and we have a radiator to mount too. Radiator fan mounting is in progress, and then we have to actually mount the radiator in the car, which means putting the front end back on to locate everything there. Lots and lots of little things have to happen with these custom cars, and sometimes you make one thing that works and then it makes something else not work. So we're going to jump into this thing, see how far we can get, and hopefully we're going to prime it and make some oil pressure, and then Sean, the owner, is coming tomorrow, and we're all going to be here for the first fire up. So pretty exciting day. Follow along for some fabrication and car building action. All right, everybody. Well, this is a big deal. See, we got a turbo on that side. We got a turbo on this side. And yes, they are in a tight little spot down in there. So you can see we brought the charge pipes are going to run inside of the frame rail here. And we've actually got one of the new Motion Icon throttle bodies with the billet Y adapter that goes to 3-inch. So we'll just have a little short pipe, and we're making the blow-off valve fit right here under the Y. We had the suspension off, so it was easier to put the turbos and everything on with the suspension hanging down, but they will come out with everything assembled. It's just a little harder. So we kind of thought, well, while we had the suspension down for some other work, let's just put those things back in there. But the turbo drain lines are made. You can see we just got to hook those back up. I've got the pieces for making the oil feed lines, and then we've got to connect some stuff there. We got to mount this over to the frame here on the charge wire for the alternator. Lots and lots and lots of stuff's going to come together here in the very near future. Like I said, then we're going to be trying to crank this thing up, which is really exciting. This has been a long-term project with some back and forth stuff on the manifolds. We definitely had some struggles on turbo placement and fabricating the manifolds. Originally we were going to use stock manifolds, kind of like what Soccer Mom used to do, and then saw where those were going to put the turbos in relation to this frame. Decided to try some of the Flowtech manifolds. Those weren't going to be in a good enough spot. They moved everything too far forward, which was just, you know, there's a radiator right in here and headlights are up here. It was just really busy. So we came up with this. You can see we can still get to all our plugs, plug wires. Yeah, it's a little tight, but we've already kind of done some mock-up stuff and made sure that we can take the spark plugs out, put the spark plugs in. I've actually got a set of kind of custom wires coming today. They're just a little bit shorter than the wires that Motion Raceworks typically sells for their coil mounts. And hopefully once that all goes together, in fact, UPS just showed up. They might even be over there in the box. But lots of little stuff to chip away on here. And then we'll spin it over and make some oil pressure, and then wait for Sean to get here to fire the thing up. So we're gonna get back to work. See you guys back in a little bit. All right, moment of truth for a lot of work that we have done into this car. We're about to test all the electrical stuff. Well, at least not all the electrical stuff, but about to power the car up for the first time. We've checked some individual circuits with a small test battery that we keep, that we can use to kind of test different circuits and whatnot. All we've done so far is test to make sure that the main battery cutoff works. It didn't, but we figured out we were flipping the wrong switch. A little panic. Should have got it on camera, but I didn't. Oh well. So let's, clear me a spot. I need my laptop. You got me a cord? Alright, I know we're gonna have to update the ECU because this ECU's been in here a while. Alright, so main power. That works. Does the dash light up? Oh! So the fuses are all unplugged for the fuel pumps because we don't want any of that. Let's see if I can connect.
You got fuses in the back undone?
TPS auto set needs to be performed. I didn't put any fuses in the back. Yeah, that's an old ECU right there.
Still on.
All right, we're gonna do some programming on our fans, water pumps, stuff like that. And then we'll be back in a minute. We're gonna prime this thing up with some oil pressure. So I've already kind of backfed the oil pump with some oil. We took all the spark plugs out. We're gonna just spin it over on the starter to see if we can make some oil pressure here in a little bit. But we're gonna update the dash and do a couple other little housekeeping things off camera, and then we'll be back in just a second. All right, well, we've got the dash updated, and we went and cycled through some of our inputs and outputs. I have... Thanks, CJ.
Sorry.
So I have a few different pressure sensors on the car. Like I have a pressure sensor on the crankcase, which if you wonder what that's for, if you blow something up like a piston, the crankcase pressure goes really high, so we keep an eye on that. And I also do, let's see, what else do we have? So in a Holly, there's a barometric pressure sensor that the ECU uses to kind of adjust its calibrations based off what the engine map sensor is reading, stuff like that. So before we ever crank one, I make sure the barometric pressure sensor matches what the actual sensor that's in the intake manifold, that manifold air pressure sensor. So I make sure those read exactly right, because the sensor internal in the ECU is all calibrated before it leaves the factory. You would think that the map sensor would also be calibrated, but when you have a really, like the higher you go with a map sensor, like say, like this one's got a 5-bar map sensor in it, a very small deviance in the return signal back to the ECU can vary what the map sensor is reading. So now you're going from 0 PSI absolute, which is 100% vacuum, all the way up to 60 PSI, I believe is what, 60 PSI above the atmospheric pressure that we have basically here at sea level. So that's a huge window versus say a single bar map sensor, which is full vacuum up to just a little bit above what atmospheric pressure is here at sea level. Anyways, a lot of nerdy tech data stuff, but there's a couple little things we wanted to test on this thing that are new to this car, because it's kind of really a street car deal, just to show you guys what the Holly can do. So we've got a wiper switch on this thing. Got a wiper dial switch. Let's see if I can make this work. So this is our wiper switch here, and then you can see we've got our wipers up here. Well, we've got 3 different delays. So delay 1 cycles the wipers every 20 seconds. Go ahead and go to 102, and then go to 3 because that's every 5 seconds. So now every 5 seconds, it should, there we go. Am I pointing at it the right way? Yeah, there it is. So every 5 seconds, and that is controlled all by the Holly. And then the next switch is low, which that just goes directly from the switch right to the thing, and there's high. Go back to high. Boogie's on high. There you can see the arm inside the dash in here working, maybe. Shoot, I need my light. There you go. So as you guys might imagine, there was a ton of work in making all that work. The windshield wiper motors on these cars in factory form actually sticks out. The motor sticks out behind, the motor sticks out ahead of the firewall, while the actuator arms and everything are up under the dash. So we eliminated all that, made it all smooth. Sean that owns the car actually came up with the motor setup, and then we combined, the motor is from a newer car, I don't remember which, but we combined the attachment points, fabricated custom attachment points for the motor to the dash bar. All kind of custom stuff for this hopefully 1500 plus horsepower street car. But I think we are ready for priming with oil pressure. Hopefully it primes with oil pressure. So we've got all the spark plugs out of it. We backfed the oil pump with some oil. And
Ready?
yeah, let's hit her and see if she makes oil pressure. Probably take 15-20 seconds or so. There it is. Yes. All right, now let's look for leaks. See, we got oil pressure line for the turbo. That looks good. Oil pressure line there, that looks good. I guess that's really the only external oil pressure we've got is on the turbo line. Don't see any leaks there. Ooh, that means we get, we put some fuel to this thing and put the plugs and wires back in it. It should crank up. Oh, you know what I didn't look at? I didn't look at RPM. Since this is a dart block to see if we actually get engine RPM.
You're gonna have to reconnect.
I did. All right, go. Yes, we have RPM. That's good. So with some fuel, in theory, this thing would crank right now. Got to put plug wires on it, spark plugs, stuff like that. But my job tomorrow is going to be trying to get a radiator in this thing. I guess we can start working on that now. All right, time for us to get back to work. All right, well, pretty successful oil pressure building. We went ahead and put our custom fire core wires onto the car and some spark plugs in it. Thought I'd show you guys our breather tanks for the crankcase. So we're doing inner fenders in this car. Eventually there's going to be something out here and seals off down there, which is one of the reasons why we brought the turbos, the outlets in there, so that, you know, you can see we've started doing panels there. But we made it to where, let's just look through here. Made it to where that has a tank on the back side of it. On both sides of the engine, it'll have a drain down at the bottom. Just to try and use what space we have for dual purpose. So it's inner fenders, but it's also the engine catch tank. Doesn't take up any room. We didn't lose any room with that right there. See how our plug wires look right there. But pretty exciting stuff. Hopefully we're going to be cranking tomorrow. I know Sean's excited to hear this thing run. We're going to have this thing at LS Fest one way or another. And before we take the car anywhere, the plan is to completely disassemble all of this rusted stuff, and it will all go out and be powder coated. So to keep from having to undo all kinds of stuff. We're gonna actually support the engine, pull the front frame piece out from under the car, support the car, support the engine, disassemble everything, take it over to powder coat. Next day we'll have it back. We've got a really good buddy with a powder coating shop. So we're gonna get that all taken care of so it'll all be pretty and won't rust, but we've got to see what all we need to add and change, because you don't want to have to grind powder coat off and have to go back and redo it again later. So you have to build everything and take it all back apart and have it powder coated so that it looks as good as it possibly can in the end. That's going to do it for today's video. Appreciate everybody watching and subscribing. I'll see you guys in the next one.